I am half Japanese and half white. My father was born in Osaka, Japan. My mother was born in Washington, D.C. I was born in Battle Creek, Michigan. My sister and I are half. Looking at my parents, little me felt confused. I looked at myself and thought that I didn't really look like either of them. Let me get one thing out of the way. I know that what I'm going to talk about doesn't apply to everyone. And I know that how I felt was all in my head. But I think I speak for a lot of biracial kids when I say that I never really knew where I fit in. I felt trapped between my halves, and I wanted desperately to fit into one or the other. Unable to decide, I found that I was constantly trying to prove myself to both communities. I tried to be the perfect Asian stereotype. I played violin, I earned straight A's, I was even part of the dragon at the local China festival. Did you hear that? I wanted to fit in so badly that I participated in a different culture's festival so that I would finally be Asian enough. But I still felt like I was just faking it. I felt like I was letting down other half kids by wanting to change myself. I looked at the Asian community and thought that it would be worth changing myself to be a part of that. I didn't think that they would let me join their group if I didn't give up that part of myself and identify only with that half. And to an extent, I was right. They loved talking about all things Asian, and we talked about very little else. But I always felt like I could never truly be one of them. That brings me to a key part of my experience being biracial: racial imposter syndrome. I felt like I was tricking everyone so that they would like me. I didn't know about racial imposter syndrome until a few months ago when I found an NPR article about it. I didn't realize that other people felt the same way I did. So when I read the article, I thought to myself, that's exactly what it is. I felt a newfound validation in my feelings, and I knew that I wasn't alone. I had always felt like I hadn't belonged to either world, and I felt pressured to take a side. But I realize now that other people felt the same way. They felt like they were just pretending to belong to one world, as though they didn't actually have a right to it. They were wrong, of course, but I didn't realize that yet. According to the 2010 census, 2.9% of the population are of two or more races. This percentage may seem small, but that's still over 9 million people. Now, I'm sure that not all of them feel the effects of racial imposter syndrome, but it's a safe bet that at least some of them do, and that's a huge amount of people. Of them, 1.6 million are like me, being half Asian and half white. Even just looking at those numbers, I began to realize how many of us there are. Although we're definitely a minority, I feel like that's enough people that we should feel legitimate in our identities. I started to feel blessed that I had been exposed to both cultures, and I started to try to accept myself for who I was. I realized that I could exist in a space between my two halves rather than switching between them constantly. I shouldn't have to give up a half of myself for fear of being rejected. I should be able to celebrate myself in my entirety. I grew up thinking that my friends wouldn't accept me if I didn't take a side. But I realize now that my friends will accept me, even if I don't quite accept myself yet. Thank you.